And there we go. We're on the air, and we're back. Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Regulators for another week. I am Dave, and yes, I have no camera today because, well, I'm just a mess. My local pizza shop tried to kill me yesterday, so I'm slowly recovering. We have Terry Van Horn, SEO Pros, SEO Dojo. How's it going, dude?
Good. I'll be handling Dave's case when he sues the fucker.
That's right. Yeah. And Steve Garrison, Steve Media.
Hello.
Oh, Steve. And he's still in the old office, folks. We know our avid viewers are just waiting to see the new place, but we're still sticking with the old one.
And once I can afford to build the new place, I won't need you guys anymore.
Let's see, where are we off to? Oh yeah, Steve. Thanks for nothing, jerkface. Actually, I was reading this. You put this up last week. It was a good read, actually. I was laughing a fair bit. There's a lot to deal with in here, so I don't know. Just figure out where you want to start.
Well, let's start with the whole premise of the story here is how Google Plus basically sounds. Plain and simple. And it comes back partially to Sergey Brin admitting that, you know, him taking over Google Plus was probably a mistake since he's not a very social person, which explains an awful lot about Google Plus.
You think? Yeah, I love that part. Yeah, I'm not really social, so let me go build a social network.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, that was an interesting start to the story, and then it went on to explain how Google Plus, some of the early missteps, and the outing of people who didn't want to be outed, the forced use of real names versus nicknames. It just goes on for a fairly long list of problems behind Google Plus, and how it's...
And the thing about the nickname stuff was Google was trying to force everyone into their entity box, but there are certain people in certain countries that might get shot by their government if they go talking about stuff publicly. Yeah. So how can you be a dissident and survive safely with that kind of a setup, right?
There are a lot of reasons why forcing the use of real names is a bad idea. Everything from, like you said, political dissidents to abused women, abused men.
Sex change was the one that they mentioned.
Transgender issues. There's just a staggering number of reasons in the modern world why using your real name is not necessarily a good thing. And the main reason, because it would allow people, in one aspect, to figure out the rest of your life. And a lot of people don't lead one cohesive, this is my life. They're all over the place. They have different personalities and different behaviors depending on what group they're with. Just people who are gay and have not come out yet, as a fairly large segment of the population at this point still, who were affected by this. So anyway, she goes on a fairly long and what I thought was well written article about Google Plus basically, and Google in general, sucking.
Yeah, and the way they implemented that identity thing was also very disruptive. It killed too. The Dojo original YouTube channel got killed because it was signed up under one of our names, and all of a sudden all the work we've done branding the channel as SEO Dojo, it would suddenly add Dave's name all over it.
Well, yeah, and there's still no way to there's still to this day no way to properly migrate them if you didn't have it thought out ahead of time. So,
well, one of the things that I thought was interesting, that I liked about the article was the comment that was made that Google is treating us like webs of flesh spun over packages of saleable data. I thought that was an interesting way to phrase that, but it's basically true. and the way Google has behaved in the past, and as they're about to behave with YouTube and their new changes on their contracts with the recording industry and independent labels, you are being forced into the Google model whether you want to be or not. And while that's certainly Google's right as a business, that type of behavior is the same thing that got Microsoft in trouble and opens the doors for new players. One of the things apparently with the new YouTube contract is suppose I haven't read the contract, so I'm going on summaries, but basically it's forcing everyone who is a music artist to sign in for their subscription model, so that people can pay a monthly subscription and get all the music videos without commercials, listen to them, listen or watch them offline, and those types of things. Where
that's part of that Google Now bullshit, isn't it?
Probably, but there's a fairly large percentage, somewhere 10 to 15% of the labels, especially the independents, who are simply happy to be ad supported and put their stuff out there for free. If they don't sign this new contract, it's very likely all of their stuff will be removed from YouTube because they don't follow the current contract. So where are all these people going to go? Say 10% of the music, you say, oh, that's only 10%. But you're going to find a significant user base is going to pick up and move with that 10%. And they're going to go somewhere new. And that's, having more opportunities for people to step in and take the place of Google.
Yeah, but that whole industry is changing, Steve. Like, when I worked in that industry a long time ago, bands made their money off of albums, and touring was basically, a lost leader. Now it's the whole business model for bands has been turned around. They now charge an arm, a fucking leg, and your next kid for a show. I mean, the first time I saw Joe Walsh, it cost me $2.50. To see Eagles, it cost me $300 fucking dollars.
Yeah, it's funny because one of my jeweler friends is friends with the guys in the Dave Matthews Band, and it went back and forth, and now he makes these little beads, little sterling silver beads for charm bracelets that have Dave Matthews Band lyrics on them, and sells the shit out of them. He can't make them fast enough, and he makes them for a batch, and then they take them to the venue and they sell out instantly. So the bands are making their money on the shows, on the merchandise. It's supporting small businesses like jewelers who are making these kinds of things. But actually, making money on the actual music doesn't seem to exist much anymore. And
if you look, Steve, there are actual artists on YouTube that got their start on YouTube, and their whole business model is based upon that. They sell their albums through it. Their tours are the direct result of being on YouTube.
Yes. And now you have sites like Patreon that was I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head. He's the other half of Pomplamoose, where it's a great website where you can go and say, I really like what this person does online. I'm going to give them $1 every time they put a new video out, or I'm going to give them $10 every time they put a new video out, because I want to support them. And some of these guys are making a living wage now because their fans have decided, well, I'll pay you $1 every time you put out a video because I like what you do.
Yeah. That's, in fact, Dave and I were actually, the subscription model for the dojo has not worked out too well. So I'm thinking just go to a donation. You like our show or you like our video, give us $1.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot. That'd be $1 more than you fuckers are giving us right now.
Sure. The guy's name is Jack Conti, by the way. And I will drop the links in the show notes for later.
But I think, once again, Steve, you can kind of look at the business model of the music industry and see it's getting fucking turned right on its head again. That's, I think, part of the reason that Apple bought Beats so they could get Iovine and or Iovine, you know, the guy I'm talking about, and that rapper, the one who's married with Beyond Drad. That's a, yeah. I can't say I'm a big fan of his.
I'm not a big fan of rap music either, but I think it's interesting that they've decided to buy a headphone company, and they don't even make very good headphones.
Yeah, but they're better than the earbuds that are currently all you can use with an iPhone other than them.
Yeah, but yeah, they're just so much better and less expensive headphones out there. But that's a whole other issue entirely.
Yeah, but I think their big thing there is Iovine. They see him.
Yeah.
The building what they've been trying to build out, right? Like with they have kind of something in like what's it called? Pandora and not Spotify. Is it Spotify? Where they're doing like radio broadcasting.
They're trying to do like a Beats music or something like that.
Yeah. Well, it's bringing the artists on board for that, and
right.
They figured that's where these two come in, eh? They know the people in the industry. I mean, you look at the bands that I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Iovine, like he did the early. What's his
name? He's just really big.
Aerosmith. That's who I was trying to think of.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well,
one of the other articles this week, and one of our favorite topics, is the churn and burn. And the god of SEO wrote a blog post about how he was able to churn and burn and rank very well for UK SEO, SEO UK, SEO services and stuff like that in google.co.uk. And okay, I'm shocked that churn and burn works. Not really, but what I found more interesting was the fallout around the discussion. And I was kind of surprised how many people thought that this was, a big deal. No, we've known churn and burn works for quite some time. Is the question the fact that it works, or the question that he actually outed the tactic?
Well, what, were people surprised?
It wasn't even that sophisticated, to be honest, Steve.
No, it wasn't. I mean,
Not
it
at
wasn't.
all.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with these types of articles. I really don't. He went into fairly reasonable detail on how he did it. So it wasn't, it's not like you couldn't replicate this on some other scale. But like anything else, are you building a business, or are you building something that you can churn and burn? And depending on what your niche and your market is.
I thought it was interesting that he was saying he was 301ing some of the ones that got burned, and it didn't seem to affect the mothership. That right. I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah,
for a while.
Oh, yeah, right. I was just going to say that, Steve. With all the algorithms that they're running, Dave, you can't say definitively something like that didn't happen, that it might happen 3 months down the road. That's why, when I look at stuff like that might have worked today, but,
Well, yeah, you're not going to do it on client. You're not going to do it on client stuff, but I think it still speaks to what we've said a few times, that is all of what Google's doing really about the spammers, because I don't necessarily believe that it's hampering them a whole bunch. It's more fucking up the legitimate sites that are trying to play around the edges.
No, I think legitimate sites are starting to gain from what they've been doing. I'm seeing it anyhow.
I think what's happening is the edge cases, that band of people who fall on the edge, that band is getting wider, and more people on both sides of that line are starting to be affected by some of these updates. So if the problem being, if at some point in your 10 or 15-year web history you had done something that might have been close to the line, it could affect you today, which is a shame, because there aren't a whole lot of things that have an unending effect on your life, business or otherwise. There's always a statute of limitations on most things.
Herpes.
Well, yeah.
Not
like,
speaking from experience.
there are some things that will affect you forever.
That's one of those gifts that keeps giving.
I guess I was less surprised about the fact that he wrote this article explaining how he did it, and more surprised at the reaction surrounding the post.
So was it that the reaction said he shouldn't have done it, or the reactions that it worked, they were surprised it worked?
Well, so there was a lot of discussion in some of the forums about, I can't believe he outed this tactic, and it's like, outed this tactic? It's been around for 10 years.
Yeah, those tactics have all been used for 10 years. What's new here?
He's using GSA fucking search engine ranker, used Fiverr, 301 some crap once it got, it's not exactly, this isn't the top end stuff, any black hat worth of salt's probably laughing at this stuff.
It's...
The other thing too, Steve, right? Did he give history of the site? Like, were these clean sites that had done nothing in the past, right? I think you get away with it for a while if you had a good, clean, like a fresh site. Because for a while, Google keeps pushing you up just to see if you fit into the rankings, right? Did he give that kind of information in the article?
That new site boost. Yeah, he bought 3 new domains. What's funny is one of them was a .pw. What the hell's .pw?
Post-war.
They were all godlike SEO whatever. And he used 3 new domains instead of using aged ones, and just went at it.
Yeah, I think part of that working has to do with they were fresh sites.
Yeah, the new site bounce.
Well, new site bounce, and they wait to see the track record, right, Steve? So this will work for a while, and then once they see, oh, this has broke the, he's been in the index long enough, and the thresholds have all been broken, he's going to go down. He's going to sink like a stone.
Yeah, but but now you can also time it with things. It's like, oh look, the new Penguin just ran, and wait a week and then launch all your sites.
Yeah, well, I think personally the Penguin is running all the time, and they're just not telling nobody.
It's possible.
Well, it's way overdue now, Steve. We're talking close to what? Almost a month overdue? That tells me someone is afraid to run it, that maybe someone else was correct when they said that they are so afraid of negative SEO that they won't run that thing. I'm starting to wonder if that's not true.
It's possible. I've heard some rumors about some other things that we can't really verify, so they're hard to talk about. So yeah, who knows?
Well, for the record, Terry, as you can see here, Rand Fishkin says it does exist, so it must.
Oh, Jesus. The authority has spoken. We can now say that it does exist. All we need is Matt Cutts to verify it, and we're good to go, folks.
I'm sorry to say, in that particular article, as you can hear for yourself in this short clip, Matt clearly says that Google are aware that people are worried about it, but he doesn't admit that it's something that's possible. So nothing from Matt, sorry. And that was at SMX last week.
Like
Sorry, Terry.
You know, that's like, I don't know, what can you compare that to? Like,
Well, the problem is there are enough rules that you could break to harm a website that even if you had one that was affected by negative SEO, I would wager that Matt could dig up another reason to penalize the site and say, well, no, not negative SEO, it was this over here that did it.
yeah. I also think they're worried a bit about pushback because of guest posting. So many people were guest posting and linking back to their sites with do follow links, and they've now said that is bad. Wow.
I'm less less worried about that. I'm more worried about the legal side of this. If you've got enough websites get affected by negative SEO and they believe that negative SEO is possible, who do you sue? Well, the obvious person is Google. Because they claim to be able to tell the difference.
Yeah. There's also, Steve, the fact that they don't run that algorithm often enough that it leaves people in the penalty box much longer than they really need to be.
But, and of course, this article got attention on Hacker News, and that brings out all the anti-SEO people. Which, I'm kind of used to it, but it gets frustrating to have, where somebody says, well, this person's a bad SEO, therefore all SEOs are morally bankrupt assholes. Like, well, you can say that about any business.
Yeah.
That one jeweler
I think pretty much lawyers, used car salesmen, contractors, they're all pretty much in that boat.
Yeah. But I'd like to think that there isn't negative SEO, but I've been seeing it too often for too long.
Well, I mean, we used to be able to do it on a very limited basis years and years ago. Yes, I know, you want attention. And it's just, all Google seems to have done lately is make it easier and less expensive. I mean, you can, in the right situations, you can really cause some serious harm to somebody. I'm working with a client right now that we found, thousands of profile links. And it's like, where did all these profile links come from?
X-Rammer, for the win.
And these were from like 3 and 4 years ago. And the website's been, been running along fine until just recently. All of a sudden, the website got hit for just the 2 anchor, keywords that were being used in these profiles. I was like, well, okay, who did you hire back then? Well, nobody. Well, what do you mean nobody? Somebody had to have done this. Well, it wasn't us. So who do you believe? Do you believe your client who's telling you that he didn't do it? Or do you assume that it's somebody was doing something they shouldn't have been? Or but it doesn't matter, because if you go on the Google forums and say, oh, this website got hit, nobody's going to believe they didn't do it.
Right.
No, you must have done it. You must have hired somebody. It's all your fault. Maybe, maybe not.
Well, I think they're just of the opinion that why would somebody do something like that? We're back to that where they don't really think in that negative tone like some people out there will.
Evil doesn't exist in the world. Evil does not exist in the Google world unless you're SEO.
Right.
Yeah, there's just tons of money at stake. You know what I mean? The guy right now that I'm dealing with, with over 100,000 links in a month that weren't his because he doesn't need to. Yeah. He's doing 1.5 million visitors a month from Google, for fuck's sake. There's a lot of money involved in this, man.
Yeah. Exactly. And we'll start seeing it more and more in the niches with the high, not so much high conversion rate, but the high dollar per conversion.
Oh, okay.
Well, for sure. It's cheaper than creating quality content, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, and here's the thing, right? I'm of the opinion that all these companies that built all these crappy links, right now they're taking them down and disavowing and cleaning things up. Once they run out of that work, they're going to go back to doing what they used to do, and they're going to sell it as negative SEO.
Yeah.
Because they're not real SEOs that can do on-page stuff. All they can do is links. So when you're a one-trick pony and, you got your choice between flipping burgers and doing SEO at, $30 an hour and working in, McDonald's for minimum wage, yeah, I think you're going to do the SEO even though it's probably bad to do it.
You gotta understand.
Business.
The problem is you can't judge a lot of these people based on Western culture and Western cultural norms. There are plenty of countries out there where certain types of activities simply are not looked badly upon. That's just the way it's done. And to expect everybody to behave by Google's ethical standard worldwide is ridiculous. So you have to put measures in place to account for those things. And it looks like they've done a pretty bad job of that.
Yeah. Well, just as an example, I was watching my financial show this morning, and they had a report from Iraq, right? The guy said there, you expect people to get shot and murdered. What you don't expect is for every time you come to a checkpoint that the government is standing there with their hands out looking for a bribe. He said the country is so corrupt, right? And that is just taken as normal there. I'm just getting across the point of what's normal to us, to other people is like that's everyday life. They live with it every day. They're used to it.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes down to it, people talk about, oh, you're hiring these overseas people at low dollar amounts, but when you figure the annual per capita income level in their country is less than $2,000 a year, and you're paying some guy $5 a shot, he doesn't have to do too many of those to be a wealthy person in that country. And why wouldn't he do it?
$200 would feed a family there for quite a while.
Exactly.
Longer than you think.
So to apply an ethical, moral stamp to what, in their opinion, may be simply a way to feed their family,
right,
is a little bit ridiculous. So I find some of these arguments, the older I get, the closer I get to Terry's age, the less entertaining I find them to be. It's a sign of getting old. Apparently, I've become much more open about different ways of doing things, and how you treat them. So I'm not I used to be part of that camp that was very anti, foreign worker, and I found working with there's a friend of mine who's setting up a new service overseas, and we found that it's not that they are trying to do harm because they know they haven't been taught any different. It's the way it's always been, and they just keep repeating the process, which is fine because 10 years ago that was the process. 5 years ago that was the process. And there's no reason for them to change because they're still getting paid.
I bet you there's a lot of people.
Train people. You take the time to train them, show them a different way, a better way, pay them a fair amount of money. Everybody's happy to do that. Hell, I'm happy to do that if you pay me a fair amount of money and show me a better way of doing something. I'll be fine to change. I'm good with that. But to constantly beat up on price, and then complain that it's crap. It's like, well, it's because you're paying crap wages. I've yet to work with. I mean, there was a guy we worked with back when the SEO Shop forum was up and running, who started a link building service based on the needs that people had in the forum. And at first, he started off with a real spam-heavy, here's 2,000 links, we don't care where we got them kind of service. And eventually, we had helped him develop a model that still included that, the cheap stuff for the people who wanted cheap stuff, but had a much more professional white hat tactic. And then had to train him again to charge a fair price. It's like, well, I could do that for about $10. It's like, well, don't do it for $10. Do it for 50.
Yeah, because that's what it's worth.
Exactly. Don't worry about how much money what's a fair wage in your country. If somebody from the United States is hiring you, charge them based on being in the United States.
Yeah.
And you'll find that the service level expectations are significantly higher when you do that, and the quality is expected to go up. And you do that a little bit on either side of the transaction, you get better stuff.
Yeah, you also get there a lot of the people, they're not really seeing themselves as SEOs, so they just do what someone else tells them to do. Quite often, they aren't even aware that what they're doing is bad.
And that's where you start getting into the gold miners in World of Warcraft and the captcha solving and all of that, where there is no thought process behind it. It's just click, 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 and they're getting paid to do that. Right. If they weren't getting paid to do that, they'd be getting paid to make tennis shoes. Really, is what it comes down to. Yeah. And so to blame that whole culture for the terrible direction in which things have gone is, in my opinion, a bad thing to be doing. If you want to blame anybody, blame the people on our side of the fence who are going, yeah, but I want it for $5.
Okay, apparently I forgot to hit the Q&A thing. I thought I did, but I didn't. So we got our questions coming. Deborah was saying, if a site was being hit by negative SEO, don't you all feel Google would be able to figure out who's doing the sabotage? No. You'd have to cast a really wide, a really huge net over a very long period of time to mask what you're doing. Most SEOs want immediate action so they can spam, blah, blah, blah. Not at all, Deb. Not at freaking all. Again, I have a particular instance right now. I'll be writing a case study about it at some point in the near future because the client in question has never spammed, so he wants attention brought to this. He doesn't mind. I've showed this to black hats that have told me what they think were the tools behind it. I have even shown this case study to Google, and no, it was about a 4 to 6 week period, 120,000 links, mostly GSA, and I won't say the rest of the name of that tool. And, if this guy didn't have someone reaching out to Google on his behalf, he probably would have got spanked pretty hard. And there you go. And there's no way to tell who did it. You know what I mean? Obviously, someone who doesn't like him. Could be a competitor. Could be his ex-wife. Who fucking knows? But
could be somebody who was unhappy with the service. I mean, you thought the negative review on Yelp was a bad thing, or rip-off reports is a bad thing. Oh, wait till the average user figures out they can really hammer a business by going to Fiverr.
Yeah. Those reports, what do they call them?
Rip-off reports?
Rip-off report. Man, I've seen them literally put businesses out of business. And there's nothing you can do. Even if you prove that they're wrong, they won't take them down. It's bogus that Google puts them in the results for that reason. But they sure show up there a lot.
Yeah.
And again, Deb's saying at the end here, she said that, it's a problem if you've built crap links in the past. And that was something Terry and I have always talked about, that, yeah, if you're susceptible already, if you've already got a somewhat linked profile, it's going to be a lot easier to push you over that. But again, in this guy's case, again, it's a top site. He's got over 1 million links, Deb. And, actually, he's got 1.4 or something. And an extra 120,000 showed up that were targeted and attacked. But again, this guy's never built a link, never done a directory, never done anything. He just built a good site, had a good product, went on Google Play, blah, blah, blah. It's 10 years old, you know what I mean? The site gets 1.5 million visitors a month. It's a legit site then, and he would have got whacked. He went to his Google Play rep, and the Google Play rep said he passed it up to the web spam team. Then I met him through someone, and then I talked to the web spam team, and they said, yes, we're aware of this guy. And the funny part was, of course, Terry, that the web spam team didn't tell me that our algos are smart enough to catch us. He just said, no, we're aware of them, we'll keep an eye on it. Oh, good. So if somebody doesn't know anyone at Google, you're fucked. Okay, good.
Yeah.
But I think
welcome to doing an edge case.
I think the ones that Google could catch are where in your case, right? I saw what they were doing, the techniques they were using. Legitimate companies wouldn't know them now, or wouldn't use them now because they're widely known to cause a problem. So I think Google would look at your past and look at what's going on and say, yeah, this is abnormal. It's not part of the modus operandi, whereas if you've been doing it for years, it's really easy to look like, oh, we're falling back, so we're going to start using these techniques again. I think that's what gets caught really quickly. When they get negative SEO against them, that's pretty hard for them to prove because they have a track record of doing it on their own. So your only real counter to that is to be ultra proactive in disavowing that stuff. To show
but there's your next problem, Terry. You know what I mean? I have literally talked to the guys at Majestic to try and call out this 120,000 since April 10th. They had problems telling me what to do. I've talked to Dom. Dom's at Link Risk. He sort of got me a bit of a fix. But at the end of the day, that's because I know these people and know where to turn. If I don't, then what do I have? Webmaster Tools, Terry? Oh, and it's going to show me like 1,000 freaking domains out of the fucking. This site has 26,000 domains linking to it, and Google's going to give me 1/25th of that, and expect me to sort out the problem. How am I going to proactively disavow that if I don't know some people? If I don't know Majestic? If I don't know
these are the sort of things that if I'm Google, I'm thinking I could get sued for this. Where people who A, didn't do it, right? B, you're not helping them get out of this problem.
Well, and that's it. Like Steve, that's exactly what Steve. That's where Steve keeps talking about. Is because you're going to penalize me, but not give me the data to be able to monitor this. You're going to put me at risk of industrial sabotage, if you want to call it that. You know what I mean? But you're not going to give me the tools to actually fight it or beat it or whatever. Because I can't even see all my fucking links and domains, so how am I supposed to be a proactive?
That's where they get a problem, is the fact that they have the data, they're just not upping it. So that puts them in a very bad light with the courts, especially when people start losing tens of thousands of dollars and judges see people losing their job because of Google. Google's going to get its ass sued off. They're going to have to hire a big team of lawyers.
It keeps coming back to that whole, who owns the data? Serious. I mean, when it comes down to it, if you're going to use the data to penalize me, and then tell me to clean it up and fix it so I can get unpenalized, you have to share that data.
Yeah,
that's like arresting somebody and throwing them in jail and saying, you know what you did, now defend yourself.
Yeah, that is exactly what they're doing, Steve, and that's where part of their let's call it risk is.
Yes.
I bet you there's lawyers just rubbing their hands together right now for a
I know.
Class act.
I personally know of at least 4 filings for discovery, so I suspect we will be seeing some lawsuits at some point, and it may very likely turn into a class action, which would be interesting to see Google fight.
Yeah, Well, I saw something about a year ago where the keywords for this industry was this company's name, right?
Yeah.
And literally, there was no reason. They were number one, and then all of a sudden they disappeared. I started looking and found that their sites were hacked to the point, their site, excuse me, is singular, their site was hacked to the point that I found links to porn sites from their website that only Google could find.
Yeah.
In other words, even if I went with Googlebot to that page, right, and indexed it, it would not come up in the. It was not.
I saw one other case of a site being hacked. Good Lord, this has probably been almost 2 years ago now, where the site got hacked and they were showing the hacked version of the website only to the Google IP addresses.
Yeah, well, remember all the guys with the software for the security software used to do the IP targeting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just interesting to see. You go to the website and go, the website looks fine, yet Google is saying it's a compromised website. And you're going, what do you mean? It's fine. It was an interesting. I mean, once we figured it out, it was easy to fix. But the initial quick look at the website, you went, well, there's nothing wrong here. I don't understand what the problem is. Because if you ran other tools,
what were they using, the HT-Access or?
Well, they'd gotten into the HT-Access and they were doing IP redirect type stuff, and most of the tools, most of the scan tools at the time didn't spot it because they were from an IP address other than Google.
And Google was saying that there was malware on the site, Steve? Yeah, I got that when...
They had pulled them from the index because of it.
Yeah, well, we never got pulled from the index, but I had a SQL injection on a site that I quickly realized, we don't update this database, so I'll make the database just read and fuck y'all.
Yeah.
That's a little tip for you out there. If you want to stop when you're not updating your database, change it to read only. I don't know if you can do that on Unix. I know you can do it on Windows. Nah.
All right, Terry, you were sharing this one around the chat room this morning.
Yeah, it's interesting because they were talking about I don't like calling it the payday loan update. Let's just call it the spammy query update. It's ran a few times. I think that one runs a lot more than people think because every time it runs, I see certain sites move in the results. I'm currently working with a payday loan company, or financial services, I guess I should say. And we just finished the cleanup and have been seeing great movement. And it's partially because a lot of the spam is getting taken out of the SERPs. But that when you see that article, I strongly suggest anyone with a penalty read it and understand it, especially if you're working in a spammy query space, which almost anything where there's real money, the top terms are going to be spammy. That's why I think calling it the payday loan doesn't really make sense, because I'll bet you any query space where there's a lot of competition, right? Because what does competition equal? More spam. You're going to see this algorithm. I think it's not targeted at specific SERPs. I think it's targeted at something else that comes through. One of the things that I have noticed, is since the Hummingbird update, topics have become huge for Google, and relevance of sites and relevance of your articles and topics on your websites. It's huge now, folks. You know, if you're going to get links and they aren't really from your niche, stay away, because that's important. And I strongly advise using the Majestic tool, which tells you all the topics flow into a page. So that new what do they call that, Dave?
I think I think it's topical trust flow or something like that. Yeah,
okay.
I
think those
basically for anybody watching it, it's where they break it into the categories of the types, the categorization of the links that are coming in, and you're looking for obviously something that's relevant to your market. So
right, and I think that's becoming more and more important, because the blogs that I removed to clean up, quite often those blogs were, let's say, you know how we discussed how you can make almost any topic relevant to your topic? Well, they were doing a lot of that, Steve, with not good results.
You mean they had one of the tools rewriting stuff for them?
No, more about the topics that they were writing on. So they would talk about
finance in the equestrian industry, finance in the sporting industry, finance in the underkeeper industry.
Right.
Yeah. Topically diverse, but we can find some way to relate it.
Right. And I think it has to be that Google not only sees that your topic has tied it in, they want to see the pages that you're linked to are on that topic pretty much squarely, and their incoming juice is topically the same. You know what I mean? So looking at that stuff is, I'm paying a lot more attention to it. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Especially where I see in the cleanup, it's the irrelevant shit that really needs to get cleaned up. So don't just look at the site. If it's not really tightly in your niche, then you're probably, you got to be careful. That's all. And I don't think it'll be as much of a penalty as much as you just won't get you're just not going to get
You're not going to get the visibility you used to get from it.
Right. You're not going to get the visibility that you used to. Good way to put it, Dave.
Thank you. Speaking of visibility, yeah, that's another search metrics graph there, folks. Sorry if you listen to the podcast as opposed to watching the show. He's got stable rankings lately, and he's got a site metrics graph. And no, site metrics is visibility, folks. It is not fucking rankings. So.
Yeah, but he's made a note that it is visibility, not rankings.
Oh, good. Then he should maybe put that in the big heading text there.
No, look at the sentence above.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying there's a big, bloody, bold statement there, buddy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Come on.
In other words, you're saying the big green statement doesn't line up with the statement of...
that's the one that was going to catch eyes, I think. So.
Okay, yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Yeah, they do kind of use visibility and rankings interchangeably.
Synonymously when they should, yes. Things. For those who don't know, with search metrics, visibility means things you rank well for, not necessarily things that drive traffic. So, example being, if you rank for truly funky, fucked up SEO and it brings you to, when you're ranking #1 for that stupid phrase, that shows up as visibility. Now, does anyone search that and come to your site because of it? No. So it's not going to show up in your fucking traffic. So, big difference.
Right. And I don't think they really weight the competition in a certain day.
Yeah.
Is part of their visibility. Don't quote me on that, folks, because I'm not sure. Even though we did work with them for a while.
Can we go to their
they weren't exactly giving away the secret sauce.
If you search search metrics, SEO visibility explained, or what does it mean, you'll find it, folks. Since I wrote the article on Search Metrics blog, there you go. Yeah, literally, Terry. I wrote the article over there, and I still don't even remember what the fuck it is.
Yeah.
It was like pulling teeth talking to their engineers to write that thing. Oh my god.
Yeah, they're pretty protective. They think they got something.
All right, 10 minutes. What else do we got?
Well, we only have 9 minutes left, so we fooled them for an hour a game day.
That's it, boys. Nice work.
Hey. You know you love it.
That's it. Anything else going on of interest on the forums, Steve?
No, I haven't been on the forums in forever.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I just think you've been banned from them all, Steve.
No, just the quality level just continues to plummet. And it's a shame, but it's the way it is.
Yep. Nature of the beast. Just been busy working myself. Then the World Cup is on. There's a cue right there.
The what?
There you go.
Yeah, I just, instead of watching the World Cup, I just look out my window and watch the grass grow. It's just as entertaining. But I must admit, I started watching the Blue Jays again.
Are you still watching baseball, are you?
Well, I've started. I gave it up after '93.
Yeah.
When they shut down, I said, fuck this.
I mean, it's something to do in the summer, man.
Well, there's nothing on TV. That's the other thing.
That's it.
I watch the baseball game while I'm relaxing.
So, I guess everyone's Penguin predictions are all now long past.
Yeah. Or it's not running, or it has run, and it's...
I doubt that. We would have heard something, seen something. I don't know. I get the feeling something is definitely going on with that, man.
Well, I think there's a reason they haven't run it.
Yep, and our crazy friend there might have been right. So.
Yeah. I think they're really seeing that there may be a problem, and it might not even be negative SEO. Like, they saw the pushback when they did the my MBG, right? My blog guest. They saw the pushback when they did that. Just think of how people are going to push back when they start penalizing them for guest posting and linking back to their sites. They're going to be caught.
Think about our friend that was writing that search engine land that got fucking a manual penalty because it was.
That's what I mean.
Because it was getting it's like, wow. I think you guys got a little. Again, Steve, just don't count the links. End of the fucking story. Go on with your life. You know, come on.
Amazing how easy it is to solve all that.
We had this answer like years ago over here in the Regulators, man. Just don't count the fucking links.
I think they're not running a Penguin, but they are looking and processing disavows like as if Penguin was running. I do believe that's going on.
Yeah.
Well, that's the only way that the one site that I've been working with could get. We couldn't get any of the links removed.
You know,
out of the thousands they had.
Yeah, but again, we had pandas running and all kinds of other shit too. So you know, and of course the ever popular stuff that don't have fucking names that we don't know about, and so on and so on. So.
Yeah, there seems to be more and more of these fuckers running where there's no name. You just hear a disturbance from Moz or one of the other
weather forecasters.
Yeah, one of the weather forecasters, right? But they don't even line up anymore. It's like I got a feeling that it's the indexes that they're looking at are divergently different in makeup somehow, and that's why some of them get hit and some of them don't. Like if you were if a lot of the keywords that you used in your seed, right, Dave, for those weather reports, if they were spammy query spaces, you're going to get hit a lot more than the guy that just took 1,000 random terms, right?
Oh yeah, for sure, man. So yeah, query classification dependent, man. Some things are running in certain areas, or whatever. Some algorithms are having a greater effect in some types of classifications and queries than they are in others. So
yeah,
thus the whole testing problem. But I tested it. All right, 11:55.
Hey, that works. That works, Dave. So we should keep doing it. Doesn't matter if Google said that they're going to penalize us. We should do that because it works.
Well, 11:56, boys. I think we can pull her out another week. 4 minutes short. We'll let it go.
Slow news week, folks. So
Yeah, more just we were busy and things and didn't get out there as much either, I guess. So Steve had the show notes this week. Woo!
That is the first.
Wow, man. I'm looking to make sure, is the sky falling? Nope, the sky isn't falling. Maybe hell hath frozen over. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Steve gave up the notes.
If Justin showed up, it would just, that's it.
That would be
I'd hide under my desk. Yeah. He's even forgotten, I even had someone comment like last couple of weeks ago on one of the social channels, what's the name of that Irish guy that used to be on your show? I was like, wow, how soon they forget us, eh?
Yep.
Wow. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. All right, boys. Pleasure as always. Everyone listening, everyone home, wherever you are, thanks for tuning in, listening, watching, wherever you did it. Gentlemen, until next week.
Yeah.
Have a good week, everybody.
Oh, Steve's go make lots of money.
In those spammy query spaces. Yeah.